Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
I'm Erin.
And today we're talking about FOMO, allocated bourbons, and whether you should be chasing bottles or not.
Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey, the channel dedicated to giving real-world content to the real-world whiskey consumer.
Today we're talking FOMO, everybody's favorite topic. But first, Erin, how's it going? What are you drinking?
It's going well. And I'm drinking a Negroni that I asked you to make me.
This particular Negroni is like any Negroni, equal parts Campari, vermouth, and instead of a regular gin, we are using a Waterloo Antique Gin, cask strength, 148.8 proof.
Oh wow.
Out of Texas.
What are you doing to me?
This is a store pick out of a local Nashville, Tennessee store here. So this stuff is excellent. It certainly has a lot more going on than your typical gin being aged in oak barrels. So this is good stuff. If you haven't looked into barrel-aged gin before, I'd highly recommend it. It does make a fantastic Negroni.
Excellent.
We are big Negroni fans
Excellent
here.
Negroni.
So I am drinking,
What are you drinking?
Bardstown Discovery Series 3. And I'm drinking this because we're talking FOMO, and this is one of the bottles that changed my opinion on FOMO.
Really? Talk to me about that.
Bardstown Discovery Series 3 was one of the first bottles that I ever bought that crossed the $100 threshold. It's fantastic. It has a wonderfully complex nose, a wonderfully complex palate. The flavors are incredible. It is a masterpiece of bourbon, in my opinion. And
Can I smell it? I'll smell your glass.
Yeah. Why would you smell the bottle? Of course, yeah. I am such a fan of this stuff, and there are a lot of allocated bottles that go for $130-ish, $140-ish or more on the secondary market that people chase all around town. If I'm going to go out and buy a Weller Antique 107 store pick for over this cost on secondary, because you can't find it in stores, or I can go out and buy this for the same money or less, and this is a vastly superior product. FOMO in general, we have our opinions about. There's like this little cult status in the whiskey world that so many products have fallen into, specifically from the Buffalo Trace Distillery for whatever reason.
So do you feel like chasing the bottles is worth it?
At one point I did. I did.
So what changed your mind?
I got a bottle of Weller Antique 107, and I had family in town. They had heard of Weller. I had not yet opened the bottle. We cooked out, made a pork butt, did some pulled pork. No, we did ribs. That was the day we did ribs.
Oh, that was the ribs day.
Yeah,
oh,
that was the ribs day.
This gentleman makes amazing ribs.
So I
tell you that.
I make these ribs on the smoker, and we crack a bottle of Weller 107 with some family from out of town. To be able to open that bottle and share that experience with them, it endeared that bottle to me. But what happened was I liked it so much, and I tied it so much to that experience with my family, that then I started thinking about spending my entire whiskey budget for the entire month at just buying secondary bottles of Weller Antique 107, because you can't buy them in the stores unless you get lucky, or unless you know somebody, and even then you're not going to get a stash.
Okay.
So I was ready to say,
it's below your budget.
We allocate this much money for fun money every month.
Yep.
I'm ready to spend it all on Weller Antique 107.
Wow.
It was the impetus.
Dude.
I had FOMO. I have tater tendencies. Taters in the whiskey world are people who chase allocated bottles, who buy into the hype.
Okay.
And I've never been one of those people to want to be that.
Yeah.
Like I when I start feeling that, I steer away from it.
Okay.
So when I was starting to feel that, instead of just spending my monthly budget on Weller Antique 107 on secondary, I liquidated some assets and other hobbies, and then spent four times that amount of money on buying a slew of whiskeys.
You're crazy.
I put together a blind bracket to see if Weller 107, to see if Blanton's, to see if E.H. Taylor Small Batch, to see if
Okay.
Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare, to see if some of these allocated whiskeys that everybody seems to chase, did they really stand out from the crowd? Were they worth the hype? Were they worth the chase? Were they even worth my money? In a blind, could I even pick them out, or did
Yeah.
I even prefer them?
So what did you find out when you were doing the bracket?
Well, I found out that I really like Wild Turkey.
Okay.
Which sits on shelves all over town.
Okay.
I really like Wild Turkey 101. I really like Rare Breed. Those products are readily available for cheaper than equivalent Buffalo Trace products.
Okay.
And
So Buffalo Trace that's a highly sought after.
yeah,
Excuse my naivete. Like that's a
that's-
highly sought after
yeah.
family of products.
I mean, and this is kind of getting into our backgrounds a little bit, but prior to the virus shutting everything down in our city, we only kept a couple bottles of whiskey in the house.
Yeah, for sure.
You kept Jameson and Bullet Rye,
Yep.
because those were your wheelhouses.
Those were what I knew.
I kept a bottle of some kind of scotch, whether it be something low end like Monkey Shoulder, like a blended scotch, or like a Glenlivet 18, like a single malt. I typically kept a Japanese whiskey, Hibiki Harmony.
I
and
like Hibiki. I do like Hibiki.
Yeah, I do like Hibiki, and we'll get around to Hibiki in these reviews, but
Will we?
we will.
Oh.
But for bourbon wise, I would just keep like an Elijah Craig small batch, or a Buffalo Trace, or something in that wheelhouse, like a very standard bourbon.
Okay.
And when the virus happened and it shut everything down, we couldn't just go out. We lived downtown at that time.
Downtown Nashville was shut down.
We were walking everywhere.
Yeah.
We had bars and restaurants we liked to frequent, and we couldn't do that anymore. And so I went into the local liquor store, and I happened to be dear friends with a local bourbon broker.
Well, now we are, but at the time we weren't as close. Like we had just kind of gotten to know them.
Yeah, and I would say, and we're going to get into that in future topics of the relationships that whiskey can build.
Oh yeah.
But we were friends with them. We knew them.
We knew them.
We'd hung out with them several times.
We had several hangouts with them.
Yeah. And so what we did was we went in and we saw our friend and we said, "Hey, we can't go out to any of the places that we used to go out to. What should we buy? This is what we normally buy."
Yep.
And he walked us through what he thought would be good
Based on what we liked.
based on what we
He
liked.
asked us what we liked, and I knew at that point I liked rye whiskey, and I still like rye whiskey. So he gave us some suggestions, and Josh did the same. He asked Josh what he liked, and
we ended up with some things that were sitting on the shelf. We ended up with some things that were allocated. I quickly found out that they were allocated because he had to go to the back room and get them and bring them out to me. And there's like an experience, there's like this air of mystery when the guy goes to the back room and brings something out. And I think a lot of people...
do you think that contributes to FOMO?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel cool when the guy goes to the back and brings
mean,
out a cool bottle.
Who doesn't love to feel cool? Let's be honest.
For us, it was like, okay, we're drinking this whiskey and it tastes good, but once we finish this bottle, are we going to be able to get another bottle of this?
Yeah.
Probably not. Yes, this guy's our friend, but we don't want to be those people that continually just go in and ask for the same allocated bottle unless we actually really like it. So I liquidate some stuff. I spend several times my budget with the assets that I have gained now.
Yes.
To buy things that aren't allocated, and I build this blind bracket. It was a 32 bottle bracket. The Elite 8 of that bracket, 7 of the 8 products were available on the shelf products.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Only one was allocated.
Wow,
And
which one?
It lost in the Elite 8.
Which one was the
E.H.
allocated
Taylor
one?
Small Batch.
Okay.
I do like E.H. Taylor Small Batch
Okay.
quite a lot, but it lost. It lost in the Elite 8.
What won the bracket?
What won the bracket was Rare Breed.
Wait,
That's the library
that's
bourbon.
the one I like. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that
And-
one. It's a really good one. It makes you feel sophisticated.
Yeah. And so
Or I feel sophisticated when I drink it.
doing that bracket really shut my FOMO down. And it made me realize that there's stuff sitting on the shelves all over town that nobody's chasing.
Okay.
They're not making a big deal about it. We kind of know in the whiskey community that Wild Turkey 101's a good pour. People talk about how good Rare Breed is. These things are... It's not like they're not spoken about, but it's you hear people say it and you just kind of dismiss it, and you end up chasing the allocated things anyways because you think you should. And you never take the time to put them up against something else and find out if you really like it, if you're tasting blind and you don't know what's in your glass.
Test your hypothesis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's science.
It's science.
It's science. So that's what started this channel, is this bracket that I put together made me realize how fun it was to taste things completely blind.
Yeah.
And you've been wanting to do a creative project together.
Yeah.
And what better way to do that than to taste whiskey together?
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to do this on a Saturday night anyways.
We would do this alone on a Saturday night, and might as well invite people along.
Yeah. You guys can come along for the ride.
Yeah.
We're going to do episodes like this where we talk about topical things like FOMO and how, in our opinion, maybe not worth it.
Maybe not.
Maybe not worth it.
Maybe not, but maybe. I don't know.
Maybe in some cases. And you guys are going to see that bear out when we do our blind tastings and we find out what's in the glass. This is our first weekly podcast episode, our first weekly video podcast.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Oh, yeah, you drank. This is a really good Negroni, by the way.
Let's pause for the cause. Oh my goodness, that Bardstown Discovery Series 3 is so good. Oh man.
You need a moment of silence?
I need a moment.
Can I try it?
Weller Antique 107 store picks. People pay more money for those than this.
But you said this is $100, over $100.
$135.
This one is?
Yep.
And people pay more for a Weller 107?
Store picks. Yeah. If it's something like that and you're doing it to collect, even like I said, I have tater tendencies, so I don't mind chasing bottles. If you're chasing it.
Ooh, that went up my nose. Like when you get water in your nose with a swimming pool.
Yeah.
That's good though.
It's complex. It's layered. It's got depth. It's got nuance.
Oh, hold on.
It's sweet. It's spicy. It's all the things. And as good as a Weller Antique 107 store pick can be, it does not have anything on that.
It has a remnant of something that I've tasted before that I really like, and I can't put my finger on it.
Goodness.
It's good. I don't know if I'd spend $135 on it.
Juice just lowered down from the heavens.
If I'm being completely honest,
well, to be fair, you wouldn't spend $135 on much of anything.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that
is really good.
When things like this exist, and when things like Rare Breed exist for $50 a bottle, and when things like Wild Turkey 101 exist for $25 a bottle, or Four Roses single barrel for $40 a bottle, all these things that just sit around on the shelves that are amazing, amazing whiskeys, and people wait in lines and they pay way over retail for something like Blanton's. Blanton's is a good solid bourbon. I know kind of in the whiskey nerd community that people like to really go at Blanton's hard.
In a bad way or a good way?
Oh, in a bad way. People love to bag on Blanton's. But
why?
Because it's such a hyped product and people pay. I mean, many stores, I've walked into stores around the Nashville area and seen Buffalo Trace sitting on the shelf without a price tag and asked how much it costs, and it was marked up. And then they'll also tell me that they have Blanton's behind the counter for $120, and it's a $60 bottle of bourbon.
Oh, okay.
That's how you get a bad reputation. A bourbon like Blanton's is a good solid bourbon, but you can also find that flavor profile in other bourbons. FOMO's a thing, social media culture promotes FOMO.
Well, and I think it's especially with social media, you can see what you're missing out on, as opposed to maybe one day hearing about it back in the day before you had Facebook and Instagram and all the things. Now you see it. Now you see people living their best life with a bottle of Blanton's or whatever, or even in other, not even the whiskey world, in other things. FOMO crosses all genres of life.
Yeah. And I think it's something to be fought against.
I agree.
Because there's very few things that you can't find a comparable substitute for.
Yeah, I agree. Because you can find something you enjoy just as much for a better price, a more reasonable, way to get it.
No, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So we're Anti-FOMO.
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 No
here.
to FOMO. Say no to FOMO.
Even though she likes Blanton's.
But I'd honestly
That's
probably rather have a sip of rare breed.
Yeah. And also, I know you, and I know that you're not going to play the games that people play to get their hands on Blanton's. You're not going to pay
Not for
100.
whiskey, but there are other things that FOMO infiltrates. But yeah, no.
Yeah. But you're not going to pay twice the retail price
For anything.
for anything, whiskey
no,
or otherwise.
Absolutely
Especially not whiskey.
Especially not whiskey. Come on. No, in 5 years, I'm not going to remember if I drank a bottle of whiskey. Like, that's not going to matter. I'm not going to spend my money on that.
Yeah.
Put it in things that last a little bit longer.
Yeah, like stonks.
Like stonks.
Yeah. Spend your money on stonks, not Blanton's. That's your life lesson for today.
Life tip.
Cue that Reading Rainbow star, the more you know, PSA.
But also index funds.
Yeah, there you go.
And some stonks that pay dividends.
All right, so that does it for FOMO for us. We're anti-FOMO here. And now we're going to get into other stuff. So this week, it's on you. Erin, what do you have for other stuff?
You and I have been recently starting a new television series. It has been recommended to us by multiple people, multiple times, to start watching Schitt's Creek. So we've started to watch that. I'm having a hard time getting into it, but I want to give it you asked me to give it a full season, which I did. And I got into it enough at the end of the first season to watch a few more episodes. There's a few things it was recommended by people I trust, their opinion, so I want to keep watching. So if you've watched that series and you like it and I need to stay with it, let me know in the comments, because I'm not really buying into the characters.
I'm personally loving it. David's the man.
I mean, yes, he does have some endearing qualities, but I just don't know. Let me know if I need to stick with it, because I'm down. If I need to give it another shot, I'm good.
I'm not big on a lot of the other characters, but David's the man.
Okay.
I'm in it. We did just come off of rewatching 30 Rock, which may very well be
favorites.
The best half-hour sitcoms ever made.
If you haven't seen 30 Rock,
maybe that's our
you
other
live
stuff.
under a rock.
Maybe that's our other stuff this week is go watch 30 Rock if you haven't.
If you need some ha-has in your life, watch 30 Rock.
And who doesn't?
I mean, everyone needs ha-has.
Yeah. That's it for this week, guys. We'll be back next week with another topical episode and more blind tastings, blind comparisons, and first impressions of new bottles we get in. So take us out.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the YouTube algorithms. And
it's down there.
Yeah, it's down there.
If you forgot where we put it.
We really appreciate the boost. Also, if you'd like to see content like this and also blind tastings, we do first impression videos, feel free to subscribe. You can even hit that notification bell.
I think those are over here.
That tells you when we post a new video. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.